And we are on air.
Hi guys, my name is Brianna, and I thought that now that I've graduated from high school, it'd be a good time to talk about the things that school has taught me. So let's get right into the video. Okay, so some of these are going to be things that school itself has taught me, and other things are just going to be things that I learned during that time period of like high school in my life that I wouldn't have learned if it wasn't for school, but school didn't necessarily teach them to me, if that makes sense. So it's going to be a mixture of those two. Yeah. Okay, I also have both good and bad things to say, but I just want to start out by saying, like, yes, obviously there are things that school has taught me, like math and science and history and like important things that I need to know in general. They're good to know and I learned from school. That's not really what this video is about, so if that's what you're looking for, you'll see in a minute what this video is going to be about. But I thought I'd start with the bad things so that we could end this video on a good note. So let's get started. So when it comes to the bad things, what I'm basically saying is that these are things that school has taught me that I learned that the truth is the opposite, basically. So all these bad things that school taught me, I know they're wrong. And they're just things that I learned because of school. So the first bad thing school taught me is that grades are the most important thing. And that is totally not true. It's something that's pushed a lot in school, but really the most important thing is your health, your mental health, your physical health, your family, being happy. Those things are more important than your grades. If you miss one assignment or one day of school because you just need to take care of yourself, that's okay. Going along with that, school also taught me that numbers define us. And that is totally not true either, but it's something that's so ingrained into school and our system and everything. It's like if you don't reach a specific grade, you feel terrible about yourself. But it doesn't mean you're not smart, it doesn't mean you're not good at that subject. It just means you didn't pass the test, or you didn't get a good enough grade on the test. And that's not a fair way to base ourselves, our intelligence, or anything about us. So that's another thing that school is wrong about. Another bad thing that school taught me is that girls have to change themselves, the way they act, the way they dress for boys so that they don't get distracted. And that's totally wrong once again. School should not be like that. What they should just be teaching is for the boys to not let themselves get distracted, to not objectify people. If I want to dress how I want to dress, it doesn't matter if I'm going to distract someone, because that's their own fault. And it just shows how like messed up our society is if that's the way our school systems are run. And you know, the way they do it is like, I've heard female teachers say before to other students that they have to make sure to cover up their cleavage because it might distract even male teachers. And that's crazy. Why should a teen girl be worried about distracting her male teacher? That's absolutely crazy. The way we treat girls in schools is totally unacceptable, and that's like something that needs to change, because you are teaching girls that they have to change to make other people feel better, not be distracted, or not to be objectified. Like, they have to change themselves so other people don't objectify them. And that's not a good thing for our school systems to be teaching us. So that's why it's on the bad list, and that needs to be changed. But while we're talking about objectifying people, school also teaches us that sex is bad, which isn't true either. If you want to have sex if it's appropriate to. If you don't want to have sex, don't have sex. It's not this bad thing. They shouldn't teach us that it's bad. They should just teach us how to be safe. And they don't really do that. So that's something else that also needs to change. In school, they also kind of just push that teachers are always right. Whatever our teacher tells us, it's supposed to be right, because they're the teacher and they're teaching us. But sometimes it's not right. I've learned things from certain teachers and then learned the complete opposite from other teachers. And it's up to me as the student to figure out who I want to believe. because teachers are not always right. They could both be wrong. And I could formulate my whole own interpretation of something. Or maybe they're factually wrong, and I can go look it up somewhere and find out that my teacher was wrong. Teachers are not always right. But we're meant to believe teachers are always right, and then teachers tell us that our parents are always right, which isn't true either. What is true is that you should trust people, but if someone is giving you information, you should always check it for yourself because you don't know if they're right or not. Sure, they got the job to be the teacher and they went to school for all this stuff, but doesn't mean they know everything. And not every single thing they say is going to be right. So you shouldn't just trust them full-heartedly without thinking about it and checking things for yourself. Another thing that school for some reason teaches us is that 18 is this magic number. That when you turn 18, you're an adult and now your life is starting and everything is preparing us to be an adult. At 18, we're an adult, right? Then we get all this freedom and we get to go to college and go off and be by ourselves, and that's not true. 18 is not some magic number, okay? For most people, changes like that start before you even turn 18. Sometimes before you even graduate from high school. And then for other people, things don't change until they graduate college because they stay with their parents. It's different for everybody, and just because you turn 18, it doesn't make you an adult. And just because you're not 18, it doesn't make you responsible enough to have the same responsibilities as an adult. It all depends on your situation, and it's not that big of a deal whether you're 17, 18, 19, 20. What matters is you, what's going on in your life, how responsible you are, and what type of things you can do. That's what matters. Okay, now before we get into the fully good things, here's a couple of more neutral things, some like, but kind of funny things. Okay. School has taught me how to write a paper or do an assignment really quickly the night before it's due, because that's just what happens. You procrastinate, you get it done. And I guess that's a good thing, but it's also kind of a bad thing because you should take your time to do your assignments, which school has also taught me to do. So it's a both ways type of situation. School's also taught me how to get ready really, really fast because I have to wake up super early and sometimes I sleep in. And oh no, my bus is gonna be here in 5 minutes. Gotta get ready. So, school taught me that too. Okay, so now on to some more positive things that school has taught me. Some real life lessons and whatnot. You can handle more than you think. When you're at your lowest moment and you think that nothing could be worse and you can't take it anymore and you just want to give up, things will get worse. And you'll realize, I can get through this. I can do it. And yeah, it seems like every day it's getting worse and it's getting worse. But one day you're going to be like realizing some of those things that matter don't matter anymore. And some of the things that matter do matter still. But it's okay because you're realizing how to deal with things better as you age and better as you're growing up. And it's not as hard as you think it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's crazy hard. It's incomprehensibly hard. But you can do it, is my point. And you don't always realize you can do it. School has also taught me that people do change. So, for me, anyways, middle school was terrible. People were mean and cruel since elementary school, middle school, and I thought high school would be exactly the same. But it's like that summer is some magical number for some reason. When I came to high school, everyone was so much more mature. And sure, fights happen all the time, the cliques and all this stuff. But people don't just randomly bully anymore. There's a reason for everything, every fight, and sure, those fights are still immature and they're childish and they're ridiculous. But there's no outright bullying anymore, and that just shows you that people mature and they're still maturing. And eventually people will stop the stupid petty stuff too. It's all just a matter of time, and people do mature. Another thing school has taught me is not just maturity, but people do change in general. You know, you don't know who someone is if you haven't talked to them in a few months even. People change so quickly throughout high school and past high school, and even in general, that you could stop talking to someone for a specific reason, and months later that reason doesn't matter anymore. Not because that thing wasn't important, but because people change and people are different. And that brings me to my next point. It's okay to be friends with someone even if they hurt you. And it's okay to be friends with someone even if you haven't forgiven them for hurting you. You can move on or start to move on and still care about that person without forgiving them. You don't have to forgive the bad to move on to good. And that honestly is something I wish I knew, because I wasted so much of my senior year not having friends because I felt hurt by them. And now I have friends again and I'm talking to them, but I could have been talking to them this whole year and I didn't. So don't make the same mistake that I did. But that brings me to my next point. It's okay to not have friends. Not having friends doesn't mean you're not likable, that you're not a good person, that there's something wrong with you. It doesn't mean any of that. All it means is that right now you're in a place where there's no one that clicks for you. And that's okay, because you will find someone that clicks for you. School's also taught me that people will like you if you're nice. Being nice won't always get you friends, but it will get people to like you, to be nice back to you, and for you to have good surrounding atmospheres in school, in life, and everything like that. And from that good atmosphere, positive atmosphere, then friends will come. But it's always got to start with being nice, and then people will like you. You will create good connections with people. And school has taught me many, many more things, but the last thing for this video is that it's okay to not know who you are. It will change, like I said earlier. So why do you need to know who you are if it's just gonna change? Just accept what's going on in your life and the things you want to do and leave it at that. As for figuring out what you want to do with your life and all that stuff, it's the same thing. Don't worry about it, don't stress about it. Just do what you feel like and the answers will come to you. So comment down below what school has taught you, whether it's good or bad, and what you learned from it. But alright guys, that's it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah!